Well, hello, everybody. Again, my name is Kim Daly. Thank you for joining us this morning. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to learn a little bit about our Echotrac E20. I'm going to start out, and then in a few slides, I'll turn it over to Christian, and he'll talk to some technical points for you. So let's see. All right, so this is the E20, and more than 40 years of experience went into the development of this system. We really took the time to look at what was best in our existing line of Odom sounders. We asked our customers for feedback, added some of our multi-beam technology to push the performance above and beyond what our customers would expect. And of course, we're always open to feedback, and we really consider all suggestions from our customers. And our goal is to help our customers by providing a quality product that's easy to use, rugged, dependable, all those things that you've come to expect from both the Odom and the Rezon brand. And the E20, there are three models that you can choose from, right? The traditional single and dual channel. And then we have an extended range for up to 6 kilometers for those people who work in really deep water. All right, so outside of the performance, I just wanted to talk a little bit about how the E20 looks and feels, right? So we have a new current design that's really substantial, and we know that the marine environment is really a harsh environment. Equipment is, thrown into the back of a pickup truck and carried for miles down the road, put in a survey boat, and driven down the river for miles, and so it's a really rough environment. So we built the E20 to withstand, excuse me. We built the E20 to withstand that rough terrain and the rough survey environment. So you see that blue bumper? That is the EPDM rubber, and it protects the unit from small bumps and even drops. Plus, it's a very nice non-slick surface. You can set your laptop on top, or it doesn't slide around on the boat deck. And while we don't, encourage anybody to mistreat their survey gear, we do know that it does happen. And so, the E20 is really rugged and, of course, watertight IP67.
Hey everybody, this is Christian. I wanted to talk some about the technical aspects of the E20 and what it'll provide for the user. So we'll start with the system architecture. As most of you know, you can either get a single frequency or a dual frequency sounder. So, a typical configuration would be a 200 kilohertz and 24 kilohertz, we'll say. So that's the wet end. You have to choose whether you want a single channel or a dual channel for the E20. And of course, top side, you've got your GPS device, your time synchronization, your PPS, and then the E20 goes into the laptop. And this is all done with a nice, neat network cable. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. Okay, Kim, okay, there we go. So there's a small delay here in the page up and page down, it seems. Okay, so the main features of the E20, the job of a single beam echo sounder, and I tell people all the time, that people say, oh, it's a fish finder. No, it's not a fish finder. It's a survey grade piece of equipment. Its job is to lock onto the bottom find a good bottom and stay on it without any noise in the water column kind of interfering with its ability to track the bottom. So it's one of its main features, and its upgraded features is the algorithms that it's using in the board itself to do a better job with bottom detection. So there's a lot of improvements with the E20 with respect to that. It's got a built-in test environment. It's got the byte control inside of the board, dual channel. You can opt for the extended range. I don't know too many people that need that extended range, but it's got a heck of extended range for your deeper depths. Singlebeam Echosounder user interface. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the screens that you'll be looking at real time when you've got this out in the field, and then all the standard data output formats. We'll talk more about that, but you've got your DBS message. We're talking about the NEMA messages. You've got DBS, DBT, and then you've got the S7K format that most people are gravitating towards now because it's the binary format that comes over an Ethernet cable. So it eliminates the need for all these cables being all over your boat. And then you've got the automatic operation mode, which is a new mode that they've put in the E20 now, where you can, kind of set it and forget it. May be good for some users. Okay, here's the performance of the E20, and we've all seen these as hydrographic surveyors, seen a lot of these spec sheets, and so the one notable thing on this spec sheet here is that with the E20 and some of these transducers that are spec'd out for 200 kilohertz or 33, you're getting more range with the new sounder with respect to your max depth range. The previous sounders, I believe at 200 kilohertz only had a 200 meter range, and with the new E20 you're getting 50 meter additional range. So that's an improvement with this new E20. Okay, and this is just showing that you got single channel and dual channel depth ratings, and then you've got the extended range down there at the 12 kilohertz. If you've got a 12 kilohertz transducer and you're trying to go down that deep, please give me a call. I want to know what you're doing because it sounds really interesting. Okay, so here's the echogram that we're going to be looking at real time when we have the E20 in action. It's a little bit different than the eChart or the image software. It's rewritten, and the buttons are laid out really nicely across the top, where you can toggle between the channel 1 and channel 2, increase the brightness. You can annotate the screen, take bitmap images, snapshots of the screen, record video, and then you've got all your settings and operation modes on the left-hand side. So this is what I call the bottom track, the signal trace, the amplitude signal, and of course your depth over on the right-hand side. So it's really nicely giving you all the information in front of you as you're surveying. All right, and we've all seen these transducers. There is hundreds of transducers out there. The one top left, that would be more or less your 200 kilohertz transducer, single channel transducer. I call that the hockey puck. And then the one right in the middle, I see that a lot as well, which is I call it the football, and it's the dual frequency 224 kilohertz transducer, dual frequency transducer. So the E20, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, but the E20 has the ability to have the user choose which transducer you're using. So you can use over 40 different types of transducers with this system, pick it from a list in the E20 software, and then it's kind of tuned to that transducer so you can get the best performance out of it. So that's a nice feature about that E20 is to be able to couple it with precisely the transducer that you have in the field. And if you've got several transducers for your company, you can interchange them, and then the software just choose the transducer you're working for that particular day. Okay, all right, so looking at the back of the panel, we've got of course, our LAN connection, our Cat5 coming out the back, and that's what's going to carry your S7K signal to your PC. Then you're going to have COM 1, 2, and 3. Those are going to be your serial outputs. Looking at the sync port, it's where you can bring in PPS or the ZDA synchronization. And we've got the transmit 1 and 2, and those are your transducer cables that plug into the top side. And then the power in, 10 to 30 volt DC. Okay, there's your power to the unit. The nice thing about that, it's variable. You know, you can hook it up to a battery. You can hook it up to 24 volt battery system. So you've got a little bit of range there. Okay. Also on the front panel, you have these blinking lights. These blinking lights will tell you about the activity of the Echosounder. You know, the flashing yellow light for the LAN link, it means there's communication between the computer and the E20 itself. Now, that flashing LAN light is helpful to ensure that you've got good network connection between the PC, because if it's not blinking, it's not communicating with the PC. Troubleshooting, you know, let's look at some IP addresses. So it's just really simple with a light telling you if it works or not. And then channel A and channel B, they're going to flash when the unit is actually pinging. So you'll know when it's pinging by the lights kind of flashing on and off. Okay. And so it's transmitting a pulse on those channels when it flashes. Okay. So now you have the SBES user interface. When you go into the software, okay, it's going to guide you through the steps to get your E20 interface to the PC and get it set up for collecting soundings. So here you're going to choose the Echosounder at the appropriate IP address. Okay, it'll be selected and you'll select it in a drop down. You've got your transducer channel A and B. Okay. Here's where I was telling you about how you can choose your specific transducer. Like I said, there's a list of over 40 of them there. Then down you have your draft, your sound velocity, your units of measurement. Below that you have your sonar time synchronization, whether you've enabled the GPS and the time sync for PPS. Okay. And then you can restart the Echosounder with software down at the bottom left. All right, here's a neat feature about the E20 is you can bring in NEMA position data and motion data. This can be used as a pass-through in some software packages. So if you've got all of this equipment plugged into the unit itself, software can now redirect it and send it over the network. All right. Okay, getting ready to start surveying, we've got this GUI where you can set up to survey or to do a bar check. And it's all laid out in kind of like a wizard fashion, so to speak. The mode down below, if you'll see under just below operation mode, you've set up on deck, and then you have that bar check routine. Right? That bar check routine believe that's going to get an update at some point. However, it's real important to surveyors to run that routine to verify that the sounder is calibrated to depth. So that's inclusive here inside of the sounder. Okay, there's 3 different modes that the sounder can go in: automatic, semi-auto, and manual. Okay, and let's talk about those. Kim, I think I maybe scroll down past through the.
What do you want me to back up?
Well, I'm trying to go to the to those modes, but I guess. Okay.
The modes were before, weren't they?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I'll just keep continuing. Yeah, I'll just go down.
Okay.
Okay. With just to back up, I just want to reiterate some of the stuff up here with respect to the modes. Okay. The modes will allow the user to go in and take full control of the Echosounder. You can control the pulse width, you can control the gain. All of that stuff is user definable. So if you're in an area where you have some fluff or something, you can control how much energy is going down with the pulse, or how hard you're listening by controlling the gain. So those 3 modes, automatic, manual, and semi-automatic, will help you kind of find a good bottom track. And we can talk about those modes at the end if anybody has any questions about those modes. I had some slides in there about that, and I can get that over to you. The annotation for the Echosounder, this annotation can come directly from the user in the user interface here for the E20 by hitting the marker button, or it can be annotated by your software package and annotated with like a function key with your software. I know, for instance, HYPACK, you can set annotation back to the Echosounder, and it can annotate based off distance and time. So that's helpful. Okay. The actual image that you get in the software does a great job with seagrass and maybe what some would call an unconsolidated bottom until you get to one. Okay, and what I mean by that is you have seagrass above an unconsolidated bottom. So it's easily definable here. And like I mentioned earlier, it's the sounder's job to digitize and find the bottom and lock onto it. However, the full signal amplitude is being collected continually. And you'll see that here in the real-time image for both high and low frequency. Okay, just another example of seagrass sticking up on the bottom. And we can digitize this in post-processing as well if we want to make seagrass inclusive of the data set. The data will be there. Okay, here's some noise in the water column from another Echosounder perhaps. So here again, its job is to lock onto the bottom. So it's ignoring all the noise. So wash under a transducer, you know, some cavitation, some prop wash, some aeration, you know, it's getting down through it. Okay. You know, at the end of the day, we're just looking for a good bottom track and contour mapping and repeatable data. You know, we're all used to producing these maps and really want this sounder to do a good job for us, and it does. As an example of that is, and I've never really seen a shipwreck surveyed with Singlebeam before to this level of visual quality. This was passed to me, and it's of a shipwreck, and it's of a long track down the long axis of a ship with a 233 kilohertz. So on the left-hand image, you can see that with that long track, that it's got far more detail. Obviously it's a narrower beam width. You have a smaller footprint on the bottom, so it's showing a higher level of detail than the 33 kilohertz. But the 33 kilohertz really shows that seabed and maybe penetrates down a little bit more to show you resolution on the type of bottom that you may have where it's resting on. So looking at the left-hand image, hitting it with 2200 kilohertz, I can see that around that ship, it looks to be scouring around on the sides of it a little bit. Well, in the 33 kilohertz, maybe that's just a softer bottom perhaps, or different type of ping. So it's a different way to interpolate the data by playing the two frequencies against each other. And then of course the 33 kilohertz, with being the footprint being so big, it doesn't capture as much detail as the 200. But I just thought this was a really neat image of a single beam shipwreck. So kudos. Okay, this is a little video here that shows in the user interface that you can toggle between channel 1 and channel 2. I kind of sometimes say high and low frequency, that's trying to steer away from saying that's channel 1 and channel 2. And in the Q4 update for the E20, what they're working on doing is being able to display them both at the same time, so you don't have to toggle them. You can see the difference in the channel 1 and channel 2 swap as this video plays along. You can really see that that lower frequency transducer penetrating that bottom, getting more signal down through it. Okay. Okay, so Kim, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, so this slide's just kind of giving you an idea of how the E20 is packaged. All fits inside a nice Pelican type case. And I also wanted to let everybody know that beginning in January, the E20 is going to replace our existing CB line of Echosounders. So we've really had great response from customers on the E20, and so the sales have far surpassed that of our legacy sounders. So we're going to make that transition over to just the E20. The Mark III will still be available, but the CBM, CB100, CB200 line will not be available after the end of December. And of course, we'll still support those systems for a number of years or until we can't source components. So no worries there for the time being. And we also plan another software update here in Q4 with some exciting things. I think another slide has some of those things listed out. So we've worked with all the big software companies on building drivers for the E20. And so all of these on the screen here, IVA, BeamWorks, QPS, our own Teledyne PDS, Chesapeake, and HiPAC, we're all compatible now. And so that's a great thing for all of our existing customers for sure. And this is one of the cool things about the E20 too, is that it is easily integrated into, everybody loves the remote control autonomous vehicles now. That's the big thing. And so these are the ones, the manufacturers that we've worked with closely here recently, and the E20 has been installed in all of these vessels. And it makes it a really versatile piece of kit, right? Because you can put it on your big survey vessel, and then you can take it off of there and put it on one of the autonomous vessels if you need to. So it's a pretty good all-around hydrographic survey tool at a really affordable price as well. So this, I just got this list a couple of days ago, and this is what will be included, these things at least in the Q4 update. So you're going to have greater access to the range, gain, power, etc. settings in the sounder where those were restricted in some regards before. You'll have blanking. That's a big one that a lot of people have asked for. Now annotations available on the bar check mode, and I believe you'll be able to save, you know, those settings in the bar check mode. Well, that's the next one, right? Save, restore configuration option. You'll be able to see both dual and the single frequency in one window. And a lot of people over in APAC and Latin America still use the printer, and that's why the Hydrotrac 2 was so popular. So we're gonna, we've come up with a printer solution. It's gonna use a commercial off-the-shelf printer, but there'll be an interface, so that'll be easily used now and solve that problem. Manual gates and automatic detection and configuration of serial sensor interface. So all of those will be included in this Q4 update. And I always like to include this slide because it's really important. Teledyne as a whole, our value proposition, you know, we want to assure people, our customers, that they're working with the right team. You know, we have a lot of engineering and a lot of support that stands behind our products, not just the Odom brand, but all the Teledyne Marine brands. So, you know, I think that the partnership between our customers and Teledyne is a real value to our customers. And here's some contact information from all Christian and myself. And then I included David Andrews on here, and he's also online this afternoon or this morning. So if anybody has any questions that either myself or Christian can't answer, David is here to help. He is a wonderful source of support for all of the Odom customers. He's been with Odom for a long time, and I'm sure probably 90% of the people online know David and have spoken with him over the years. So he's a great asset for us. David, are you there? Can you unmute yourself?
Hi, Kim. Thank you so much for presenting. It doesn't look like David is on yet, but there has come in quite some good questions. Do you want to give it a go?
Sure.
Yeah. So the first question that we got in is the software included when I buy the E20, or can I still use it with the old Atlas or Odom software?
So it doesn't work with eChart. You'll get a new Singlebeam user interface. It's, you know, that new software that comes with the Echotrac E20. But we don't, you know, HiPAC is not included or PDS is not included. All those are a la carte. So you would choose your acquisition and processing package separately. I think, did that answer the question?
I hope, otherwise
yeah.
the question will come back. There's another question here that says, is there a recommended power supply, 12 or 24?
Go ahead, Christian.
Okay, so the only thing that I would say about that is just kind of being a field person, that these electronics for boats have a range for voltage for a reason. So you know, boats, you know, your recreational boats will have a 12-volt source available, which this unit's perfectly capable of powering the unit with. And then you've got some other commercial boats that usually run 24-volt systems, and it's capable of running off that as well. So it covers the range of, you know, your recreational boat all the way to your commercial type power situations where these battery banks or these power supplies kind of vary. And then I'm not sure up to 30 volts what that's about, but maybe that's just a buffer. But in my opinion, it's just kind of what vessel you're on determines what kind of power. If it was me and I just wanted to go out and collect some single beam data over the side mounted, I might just get a car battery and hook it up 12 volts. It should work just fine.
Thank you for that, Christian. And move on to the next question. Do you need a null modem cable for the GPS for the E20 to work?
I don't believe so. I do not believe so. I think you can hook it in just regular RS-232 with your 3 pins transmit, your transmit, receive, and signal ground regular. I will verify that, but I do not think that that's the case.
Okay, thank you. So we'll come back with an answer to that. Next question is, what was the trace of the bottom of the UI displaying?
I wonder what slide that was.
Can't see what time the question came in.
Christian, could it be this down here?
Could be, and that's just the signal amplitude over time. So yeah. Yeah, so if you look at that bottom window from what I can, so what I see here is I see that signal down at the bottom, which is that red signal that can be matched up with the bottom trace in the bigger window above that shows the bottom track. So it's kind of the signal amplitude over time as the window scrolls. So you've got the vertical signal amplitude on the right-hand side. So if you look at this slide and you look at the depth of 9.62, just to the left of that in that vertical wedge is the signal amplitude. So you've got the bottom track to the left of that in the normal window, and then below that you have additional signal amplitude over time tracing across the bottom as well.
All right.
Kim, do you have that slide of that pond?
Of the what?
Of that pond, of that pulp pond, where I show the high and low frequency together?
Yes, what happened to that slide?
Okay.
Anyway,
Maybe
yeah,
we
can
can
keep going.
send that out, because in interest of time, we are running a bit late. I've got 2 more questions and then we will close down and we can answer what, if there are any questions we didn't get, we will send that out later. So the next question is, that bar check routine update can't come soon enough. We need a report similar to the CV100s. We've had ours since May and we need that in our deliverables. I guess that was more comment than.
Yeah, it should be soon.
Yeah. Will the gates apply to the bar checking window?
Yes, they should.
Okay. Kim and Christian, thank you very much for your presentation. And as you said, Kim, you had your contact details at the end of the presentation here. And we will answer any questions that we didn't answer now. Do you have any more comments?
No, just thank everybody for calling in. I appreciate it, and please reach out if you have any other questions that if I can't answer, I'm happy to get David to chime in, and I'm sure he'll have the answers. And Christian, thank you so much for joining in as well. You were a huge help.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day and keep pinging away.
Awesome.